The Middle East, the cradle of civilization, is rich with stories of great kings, prophets, and philosophers. From Cyrus to Moses to Ibn Khaldun, our nations have given the world some of its greatest visionaries. Leaders like Anwar Sadat, King Hussein, Menachem Begin, King Faisal, and my father, too, took up the mantle of seeking peace for our people. But for 45 years, too many of us have been forced to live in fear. Fear of the next terrorist attack, fear of war, fear of economic instability, fear of nuclear blackmail. That's because 45 years ago, my country was taken hostage by a radical regime that seeks not only to keep my people in chains, but to export its revolution to your countries and your people. The regime in Tehran is responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of innocents, Iranians, Arabs, and Israelis, Christians, Muslims, and Jews. It facilitated the October 7th attack. It fueled sectarian conflicts in Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, and Yemen. It is trying to unseat the Hashemite kingdom and delegitimize the custodians of the two holy mosques. It uses Palestinians as human shields. And now it has brought our cradle of civilization to the cusp of regional war. And so today, I come to you with a message. This is not the Iranian people's war. It is Ali Khamenei and his regime's war. The tyrant in Tehran couches his warmongering in Iranian nationalism. But he does not speak for our nation. The crimes his regime has committed against you, our neighbors, are an affront to Iranians and our values. For us Iranians, pride in our nation and love of our country do not come at the price of hatred, antagonism, or chauvinism. My compatriots have shown time and time again that they do not want Iran's wealth spent on fueling wars, fostering instability, or funding terrorism. Iranians are not your enemy. It is the Islamic Republic that is our common enemy, the enemy of all peace-seeking people in our regions, whatever nation they come from or whatever faith they practice. So I say to you, our friends across the Middle East, our region deserves so much better. But in order to succeed, first, this regime that has held us hostage for nearly half a century must go. The Middle East is all too familiar with turmoil and upheaval. So I know you might fear change will bring chaos, but fear not. We will not allow a power vacuum to follow the collapse of this regime. There is a vast coalition of patriotic Iranians at home and abroad, ready to step in to serve our nation and make peace with our region. I have told my compatriots that I will do my duty. I will step forward at their call to oversee this peaceful transition to democracy and Iran's return to the community of nations. Peace is neither a relic of history nor a distant dream. It is a promise we owe to ourselves and our children. And together, we can make it a reality.
Okay, so I'm going to analyze this speech minute by minute of it, but let's first respond to some of your comments. Let's focus on politics today, right? Saying, would you want Reza Pahlavi to be Shah or president? Okay, guys, so that's the question that is regarding after, I mean, if the Islamic Republic falls, regarding what form of a government the Iranian people choose. It's supposed to be based on a referendum. It's not supposed to be something that we decide right now. And the options are mainly three: either a constitutional monarchy, or a presidential republic or a parliamentary republic. I personally prefer a parliamentary republic, and I would prefer that for Reza Pahlavi to be the prime minister. However, if there is a referendum and people vote for a constitutional monarchy, I will respect the wish of I, as an Iranian, would vote for a parliamentary republic. But if most Iranians vote for a constitutional monarchy, I would be too busy being happy that the Islamic Republic has fallen to be too concerned about which one of these structure. Again, guys, the structure of the government matters less than the content. The content's supposed to be liberalism, democracy, and secularism. As long as the content is liberalism and secularism, the form of it, whether it's a presidential republic or a parliamentary republic or a constitutional monarchy, that makes very little difference. The content is more important than the structure, right? And also, is saying, so from Islamic State to a monarchy back again sounds progressive. LOL. This is because of your lack of understanding of what you're talking about. We're not going to a absolute monarchy. Like, we're not even going back to anything. The monarchy that some Iranians want us to go to is a constitutional monarchy, where the monarch would be just symbolic. So if we ever have a constitutional monarchy, the country will be run based on the parliament and based on the prime minister, and the monarch would just be would have a symbolic function. So you don't understand what you're talking about, right? So the Iranian people who want a monarchy, they don't want an absolute monarchy. They want a constitutional monarchy that the monarch has a symbolic feature, and the main power of the government is done based on the parliament. The ministers is based on the parliament and the ministers and the prime minister, right? And if you think that is not progressive, let me actually name you some other countries that are constitutional monarchies: United Kingdom, Spain, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, uh, Monaco. These are also constitutional monarchies. So if you think these countries are not liberal and then you have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, so you're not very smart. Okay, so let's watch this together and analyze it.
The Middle East, the cradle of civilization, is rich with stories of great kings, prophets, and philosophers.
Okay, so here's the thing. I, as an atheist, okay, this speech was not designed for me. Okay, so there are some parts of the speech that if I would written differently, but given how effective this speech was, I realized that the speech was masterfully written for maximum effect and maximum reception by Jews and Arabs in the region. It doesn't seem to be me as an anti-religion atheist. I was not the target audience for this, right? So it says like the Middle East, so mentioning the kings, prophets, and philosophers. Yeah, the fact that they're putting prophets next to philosophers doesn't sit well with me. But again, I'm not the target audience. This is supposed to make secular-minded Muslims in the region also happy, right? Especially Arabs who have a little bit, especially Arabs that are secular-minded, have the Muslim identity but don't take Islam very seriously. See the having prophets and stuff part of their history, and also enjoy monarchy a little bit. The monarchy-minded liberal Arabs that have a Muslim identity but are not very serious about their Islam, putting kings, prophets, and philosophers next to each other, that works. Like, it basically is referring to the identity of all this land in a way that appeals to all of them, right? So let's continue.
From Cyrus to Moses to Ibn Khaldun, our nations have given the world some of its greatest visionaries.
So see, like the people he's mentioning, Cyrus for the Persians, for the people, for ancient Persians. Again, even though Iran is now a mix of different ethnicity, Cyrus is considered to be the Persian king, right? Like that was the Persian Empire that brought all of these other ethnicities to that were ruling all of these other ethnicities, right? So he's now giving Cyrus, but Cyrus, even though he's considered to be part of the Persian heritage, a lot of Iranians who are not Persian either are kind of seeing him as a symbol of Iran in general, not just the Persians, right? So he mentions Cyrus, Moses, and Ibn Khaldun. So basically, he's giving something to Iranians, to Jews, and then to Arabs. He's trying, but by saying Cyrus, Moses, and Ibn Khaldun, he's trying to basically refer to the heritage of all these three types of all these three people: Iranians, Arabs, and Jews. Again, I don't like me as an atheist. Do not like Moses. Like, I mean, Cyrus is a real person. Okay, Ibn Khaldun is a real person. I, as an atheist, consider Moses to be mythology. Okay, not really a real person. So again, this speech was not designed for me, but the speech was designed to basically mention something of all of these three people, right? So again, he mentioned these. Let's see what he said again.
Our nations have given the world some of its greatest visionaries.
Yeah, greatest visionaries. He mentions Ibn Khaldun. Technically, he was a great visionary. He was a historian. Cyrus was a great visionary. Moses was not. Moses didn't even exist, right? But again, he's mentioning Moses just to say something positive about a visionary from the Jews. I mean, we have so many good candidates from visionaries from Jews. I don't know why Moses is is the guy that you have to pick here. But again, I understand that the speech is working with a lot of people. So again, I'm not the target audience.
Leaders like Anwar Sadat, King Hussein, Menachem Begin, King Faisal, and my father, too, took up the mantle of seeking peace.
So look, Anwar Sadat, Malik Hussein, Menachem Begin, Malik Faisal, and his father Muhammad Reza Shah, right? So he's mentioning this resonated with a lot of Arabs. He mentioned Arab leaders. He mentioned his own father as an Iranian leader. He mentioned Israeli leaders. I noticed that a lot of Egyptians. I don't know, is Dolly here in the live chat? I noticed a lot of Egyptians were so happy with the mention of Anwar Sadat, and this resonated a lot with them. Okay, so that was very well designed
for our people. But for 45 years, too many of us have been forced to live in fear. Fear of the next terrorist attack, fear of war, fear of economic instability, fear of nuclear blackmail. That's because 45 years ago, my country was taken hostage by a radical regime that seeks not only to keep my people in chains, but to export its revolution to your countries and your people.
Yes, this is why, you know how a lot of people try to call Israel occupied Palestine, right? That's an inaccurate terminology. But we should use that and call Iran occupied Iran. Okay, so Iran is, we should refer to it as occupied Iran by the Islamic Republic. But this is a very important thing that he touched on. It was very important that he mentioned this because a lot of people in the world don't understand this. A lot of Americans, a lot of Europeans don't understand how this is relevant today. Because the Islamic Republic, the only reason why some people in Canada or United States or Europe have not felt the presence of the Islam. I mean, more and more Europeans and North Americans are feeling the presence of the Islamic Republic in their backyard. But the ones that haven't, the reason why you haven't is because the Islamic Republic has not yet removed the barrier, the wall between them and Europe and North America. And that wall is Israel and the Iranian people. If that wall is ever removed, then you will feel that. And that's why he is very correct here to mention to you, to remind you that the entire point of the Islamic Republic is for it to export its revolution all around the world, and especially eventually to United States. That's why the Islamic Republic is a threat to the entire civilized world, And it's very important for people to understand why the Islamic Republic still considers itself to be a revolutionary power. Like, because the revolution was in 1979. If you are a revolutionary, Once you win the revolution, you will stop being a revolutionary. Why is it that the leaders of the Islamic Republic consider themselves to be consider themselves to be revolutionary still? Revolutionary still. Remember, in our previous streams, I told you that Khamenei told its diplomats when they were going to the United States, Khamenei told his own diplomats, go there and do your diplomacy. But I am not a diplomat. That's what Khamenei said, the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic. He said, I am not a diplomat. I am a revolutionary. Why would you be a revolutionary if you have already won the revolution, the Islamic Revolution in 1979, and have removed the Pahlavi dynasty? Because the revolution was not against the Pahlavi dynasty. The revolution of the Islamic Republic is against the world liberal order, what they called the imperialist West. They are the revolution. That was the first step of the revolution. First, to remove the Pahlavi, meaning his father. Second is to basically remove the liberal order from Iran. Then for them to remove the liberal order from the Middle East by destroying Israel. And then for them to remove the liberal order from the world by destroying the United States. That's why they are still revolutionaries. And that's why Reza Pahlavi here is saying that they are trying to export their revolution all around the world. It's important for people to understand this. So let's continue. And also to the Americans who say, why are we supporting Israel? What has Israel done for us? This is what you have to understand as an American. Israelis are dying fighting your enemies. The amount of support that you have had for Israel has done more for United States than United States has done for Israel. Israel is in the front lines fighting the people who want to eventually come from United States. You think you have given so much support for Israel? You have gotten more from Israel than what you have given to Israel. Israelis are dying while Americans are living in peace and stability because they're dying fighting your enemies far away from your borders. Anyways, let's continue. And so are the Iranian people.
People. The regime in Tehran is responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of innocents, Iranians, Arabs, and Israelis, Christians, Muslims, and Jews.
So here, here's the thing. Given how many people in Iran now have no religion, and how many atheists and secular-minded people exist in Israel, I've been to Israel. Many Israelis are not religious. Many Israelis are not religious. Okay, and I also know how many Arabs, how much atheist activism is growing in the Arab world. Atheist activism is spreading like wildfire in the Arab world. Just go see how much content against Islam, against religion as a whole, is being made by Arab YouTubers, and how high of a demand there is for it among Arabs. Go watch that. Go see how much this is spreading. So it's lack of religion is spreading in Iran, in the Arab world, and in Israel. So as an atheist, I wish he included the non-religious here. I wish he mentioned he said Iran. So let's listen to this part. He mentioned Christians, Muslims, and Jews, which is good. But I wish he included the non-religious. But I understand why he didn't. But again, this shows that us non-religious people, we should do more activism for us to matter as much as Christians, Jews, and Muslims. We should do more to be seen. Like, why is we don't matter as much as Muslims and Christians and religious Jewish people? And that's why people don't mention us. We need to be louder. We need to stand up. We need to be counted. We need to be seen, so that when politicians are trying to um, gain political capital by giving speeches designed to be well received, they know that we non-religious people are powerful enough for us to be mentioned as well. In Iran especially, the non-religious is the biggest category of people, more than Muslims. So why are non-religious people not being mentioned? given that we are so high in number. So I wish we were mentioned here as well. But again, I know that this speech was designed to do something and it was successful at doing what it did. This is more of a criticism to us as non-religious people for why we are still, even though we are so high in number, why haven't we done enough to be seen, to be powerful enough for people to have to mention us, right? So that's a okay. No. People are saying no. A lot of people in Iran have kept their religion. You're an idiot. You have no idea what you're talking about. I have scientifically collected data that shows that most Iranian people are not even Muslim anymore. Islam is now a minority. Muslims are a minority now in Iran. I have done streams on you, and you're an idiot, so you don't know what you're talking about. The person who mentioned like this in the live chat. So who's this? Look at this. Yeah. Arako. You're an idiot. You have no idea what you're talking about. Let's continue.
And Israelis, Christians, Muslims, and Jews. It facilitated the October 7th attack. It fueled sectarian conflicts in Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, and Yemen. It is trying to unseat the Hashemite kingdom and delegitimize the custodians of the two holy mosques. It uses Palestinians as human shields. And now it has brought our cradle of civilization to the cusp of regional war. And so today, I come to you with a message. This is not the Iranian people's war. It is Ali Khamenei and his regime's war. The tyrant in Tehran couches his warmongering in Iranian nationalism. But he does not speak for our nation. The crimes his regime has committed against you, our neighbors, are an affront to Iranians and our values. For us Iranians, pride in our nation and love of our country do not come at the price of hatred, antagonism, or chauvinism. My compatriots have shown time and time again that they do not want Iran's wealth spent on fueling wars, fostering instability, or funding terrorism. Iranians are not your enemy. It is the Islamic Republic that is our common enemy, the enemy of all peace-seeking people in our regions, whatever nation they come from or whatever faith they practice. So I say to you, our friends across the Middle East, our region deserves so much better. But in order to succeed, first, this regime that has held us hostage for nearly half a century must go.
So this is very important part of his speech because he's mentioning that the Islamic Republic has to go. And he's normalizing the idea of regime change, right? Because of the removal of Saddam and how big of a disaster that was, a lot of the world is not ready to accept regime change. The idea of regime change, especially Americans, have had a very bad experience with regime change. The removal of Saddam from Iraq is considered to be a mistake by most Americans, both Republicans and Democrats, with a huge heavy cost to the Americans and also to the stability in the Middle East. And that's why talking about regime change in Iran is met with a lot of skepticism by people around the world. And a lot of Iranians want regime change. And when they talk about regime change, when the fact that most Iranians want regime change, that a lot of the Western world sees the Iranian people and wants to support them. But then all of a sudden, when they hear this regime change desire, they become skeptical because of their bad experience with regime change with Saddam. So Reza Pahlavi is trying to represent the Iranian people and spread their wishes around the world, in the region, to the West, everywhere. And he's doing a very good job in trying to normalize asking for regime change basically normalizing, moving the whole world, both the Iranian people and the rest of the world, pushing for regime change and normalizing that. He's saying the only way is for this regime to go. And he responds to the fears that you might have for regime change as well. So let's listen to this part again.